In my last video, I discussed why it's not a good idea to compliment women on their looks and how should you go about complimenting women. If you want to check that out, I'm going to link it over here. But in today's video, I want to talk about what you're meant to do if your girlfriend is always fishing for compliments. This can be quite an annoying behavior, and I can think of two explanations for why this is. The first one you don't have to worry about, but the second one is more problematic. Okay, let's talk about the first one. Occasionally, you'll find a woman who has developed this fishing for compliments behavior as an adaptation to her own insecurity. It could be just a habit that started from a very young age, and she never really grew out of it. For example, let's say when she was a little girl, she did really bad on one of her exams, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so bad." And then her parents would comfort her, and she felt better. Because of that, she continued to do it again and again and again, and it became a habit that she never really grew out of it. So when it comes to relationships, she might say, "Oh, I look so fat, I'm so ugly." What she's actually communicating is that she's not feeling good about herself and she's looking for reassurance. However, if this is her way of asking for compliments, I think you're kind of failing your role as a boyfriend, because it should never get to the point in the relationship where she is so insecure that she has to essentially beg for some sort of reassurance. I think it's reasonable to expect in a romantic relationship that you're constantly reassuring the other person in such a way that makes them feel good about themselves. For most women, I would say that they will have constant lifelong concern about their appearance. It's one of the curses of being a woman. Their entire life, from a very young age, there's been a lot of attention on the way they look. But I think if you're in a relationship and you're doing it properly, she should have no doubt about her own desirability. You should be making it clear that you still find her attractive and desirable. That way she doesn't have to ask for it. If she needs that validation and you never give it to her, that's when you're going to start to see her insecurity coming out in a more negative way. Like if she's unhappy, she's going to project that energy towards you or your children, or worse, she might start to cheat to get that validation. I mean, you hear it all the time. One of the common explanations as to why women cheat is the fact that the new guy made her feel desirable and attractive again. Now, I'm not condoning this. It's not a justification to have an affair. But do you see just how important it is for women? That insecurity about their own desirability is just so frightening that if they're not getting it from you, can they just go without it completely? I don't think so. So again, I think it's reasonable for women to expect that once they are in a relationship, that if you're my boyfriend, you make me feel pretty, you make me feel desirable. And if it ever gets to the point where she has to ask for it, then you're not doing a very good job as a boyfriend. Okay, now let's say you are an amazing boyfriend and you're doing everything that you're supposed to do. But she just has this massive deficit of self-esteem that all of your reassurance has no impact on her. Now you got a problem, and I would consider this a red flag. The first thing you need to realize is that this fishing for compliment behavior is just a band-aid for something more serious, and you need to get to the root of this problem. For example, she might say, "Oh, I'm so stupid." Now, hearing that, you know that it's an insecurity about her intelligence. So you might say, "No, honey, you're really smart," and think that you solved the problem. You didn't. That's not enough. What you need to do is to have a thorough discussion about this and try to understand what's actually causing her to feel that way. Like, when did this start? How does she feel about herself? Does she feel like she has no values and no worth outside of her appearance? And is there a healthy way of expressing this insecurity? The right time to have this discussion is not at the moment when she is fishing for that compliment. If she was like, "Oh, I feel so fat today," and you go, "You know, it really bothers me that you keep doing that. Why do you keep asking for compliments? You need to work on that. That's not good." You're going to get a really bad response. In the short term, I recommend you respond in a way that she wants you to respond. So if she goes, "Oh, I feel so fat today," you can say, "Don't be silly, honey. You look absolutely gorgeous." But still keep in mind that you need to have this conversation later on. The right time for this conversation is when she left that low point of feeling bad about herself. Wait for when things are going well. Then you can say, "Hey, I get the sense that you've been feeling insecure lately. Is there anything that you want to talk to me about? Or is there anything that I can do to make you feel better?" Then you can have an open and honest discussion about it. Now, I would say that whatever it is that's causing her insecurity, in certain situations, please understand that it's not your job to fix it, or that it's even possible for you to fix it, which means that's a conversation for a therapist. There are so many other problems that can come from this issue. I've mentioned a couple before, like she might project those insecurity on you, or she might have an affair. As a realistic expectation inside a relationship, her problems do become your problem. Now, I'm not saying it in like a codependent kind of way, but practically speaking, everything that she is going through is going to have an impact on you. So if you want to feel secure in your relationship, Your partner's mental state is always your business, and you can never really slack off. With that said, it's better for you to deal with this problem in a preventative way. You want to help her and support her. You want her to get to the point where instead of saying, "Oh, I feel so fat today," she says, "Ben, I'm feeling insecure about the way I look. Can we have a talk?" Then you have a proper discussion. What I'm trying to get across here is that it's not necessarily a problem if you deal with it the correct way. Nobody is perfect. We all have insecurity. But it's about communicating and supporting each other in a way that's not going to impact the relationship. The last point that I want to make here is that there will be instances where you do absolutely everything that you're supposed to do, but you're dealing with a woman who is just too far gone. Her lack of self-esteem is just too much that no amount of your love and support can potentially fix that. That's a very real possibility, and there are more women like this than you think. Even the best boyfriend won't be able to help her because she's not making any effort. As much as you want to help her, she must have the desire to improve. What I recommend is that you try your best to help her and look for evidence that she's actually putting in the effort to improve. After a couple months, if you see no change, no difference, she's still the same person, then don't expect her to change in the future. At that point, you need to have an honest conversation with yourself. Can I live like this for the rest of my life? Am I going to be happy with somebody who makes no effort to improve? Everyone is different in what they're willing to tolerate. But to me, this is a non-negotiable red flag. Anyways, that's all I have. I'm curious to know if you ever dated someone like this. Let me know your experience in the comment section. Until next time, stay curious.